Welcome, everybody. It's Studio 8.1, episode 7 with me, Jarvis, Todd, and him over there, Mr. Paul Skeldon, the editor-in-chief of Telemedia Magazine, Telemedia News. And if you don't know what that is, then what the heck are you doing watching this? But we're all over mobile payments, mobile messaging, mobile advertising, mobile content, mobile value-added services, anything that people with a smartphone or connected device are consuming at the moment. Hello, mate. Seems like a long time.
Been ages. It's been ages. I've been on my deathbed.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, we've just come back. This is our first recording since the triumph that was World Telemedia 2021, which unfortunately our dear friend over there managed to miss. Do you want to tell everyone what happened?
Yes, it was. I was gutted. I was really looking forward to it finally being released and going somewhere nice. But as you can hear, I've still getting over, I think, the super cold.
Cue the cough.
Oh, it's a bit of a nightmare, and I missed it all, and I'm gutted. But roll on 2022.
Well, the good news is, mate, let me tell you what we're going to do today. We're going to, actually, over the next 3 months, because World Telemedia lives virtually now, we're going to be giving everyone an opportunity to relive not only some of the highlights, also being able to access the content from the conference, but also being able to continually message one another. So you may have missed out in person, but you can live virtually through the Telemedia 8.1 platform, along with the 800 or so additional virtual attendees. And I will talk to you a little bit more about that. But we are going to cover World Telemedia, some of the highlights of day one. There's so much to cover. We can only do it day by day. We're then going to talk about how 5G could save the world. And that's ahead of the COP26 summit. And there's a survey from a company called Mobile UK that I think has thrown up some interesting stats on how our industry can play a part in the green revolution. We're also going to be covering emerging markets, which I think is going to be a recurring theme for the telemedia sector, or certainly our output for the next few years, because I think there was a lot of talk about Africa, MENA, and all these other exciting territories at the show. And I think this is, reflecting the truly global view and global opportunities that telemedia providers have now. And we're going to be referencing some research from good old App Annie, of course, Juniper, who you just can't keep those guys away. And also some very good data from Avena and Tele coming in partnership. So without further ado, Paul, let me talk to you first.
Yes, tell me, what did I miss? What did I miss, apart from sunshine, beaches, cocktails, and all the other excellent things?
Well, so apart from that, we prepared a little video of day one. So I'm just going to say, roll VT.
A simple word, and us is much more than you heard. Two little letters come together and then loneliness is cured. Yeah. Something like a dream. Oh yeah, yeah. And us is fun and fancy free. Oh yes indeed. Two little letters come together and then us makes you and me. not just another fantasy. Us is as real as can be. Too little, let us change forever, and we will touch the skies above the sea. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, I can't get enough. No, I can't get enough. Oh, yeah. 'Cause I can't get enough. No, I can't get enough. 'Cause I love us. I can't get, I can't get, I can't get, I can't get enough. Oh, love of us. I can't get, I can't get, I can't get, I can't
Well, if that wasn't
Gosh,
enough,
some familiar faces there, and lots of not so familiar faces.
I know.
What
It
a
was-
lot of people.
There was a lot of people. We were very fortunate in that there was, I mean, I wouldn't say so much a last minute rush, but probably understandable in the COVID age that everybody was, reluctant to book too early simply because they didn't know whether they'd be able to make it or not with the dreaded lurgy. But in the end, we clocked up probably over 400 attendees officially, and
It's really good, isn't it?
yeah, it was a great turnout. One of the really pleasing things about this particular show was it was the first opportunity for us to put the live event together with the 8.1 platform. So really giving people an opportunity to use that tool ahead of the show to try to maximize the or try to be as efficient as they possibly could be when they were given this rare and wonderful opportunity to get face to face. I can now reveal that in the period 26th of September right through to the 25th of October, so the week after, about 3 weeks before the show and about a week after the show, between our virtual and our in-person attendees, nearly 5,000 messages were exchanged. And I just want to say to everyone, that's 5,000 potential business leads. So if you're not using the 8.1 platform, please do, because clearly people are starting to get it. And I think, what I noticed more than ever was that when I was talking to people ahead of the show, so many of them, just were really finding it difficult to find any time with me because they had completely full diaries, which is exactly what we were after.
Excellent stuff. That's really good. No, I mean, it was always going to be a success, I think, but it's amazing how many people did turn up. Like you say, late on, I guess, because I guess that's going to be like it with shows for a while, that the bookings will come in towards the end. But what sort of things were they discussing? What some of the highlights?
Well, there's a couple of key themes. I mean, one of the things, certainly emerging markets is something we've been covering and was on the tips of everyone's tongue. Obviously, the country updates, which is provided by Impello, and also the LATAM special, which was hosted by our new platinum sponsor, AWG, highlighted the fact that people are looking to trade cross-border, which I think has been a traditional sort of characteristic of the telemedia industry since we've been doing it. And I think that ability has never been more relevant or important. And I think everybody is looking to expand into international markets, and there are some really interesting ones out there. I think also what really struck me was that a number of people said that telemedia is where they look to find out what's going on and what's new. And I suppose that was a surprise. It shouldn't really have been a surprise, because I think telemedia has always been that sort of sweet spot between the consumer and the billing gateway. And, I think that probably that proves that now more than ever, we're not only an industry that's innovating, but very much in tune with what consumers are buying, and also able to combine that with delivery and payments. And if you put those three things together, that is your winning combination. And I think that the telemedia industry very clearly represented all of those key facets in Marbella. In fact, one of the testimonials that I've picked out, which I found particularly encouraging, was from ABC Mobile, who are one of the gold sponsors. And it says, "I'm absolutely sure #World Telemedia is one of the most current conferences on the market anywhere in the world." Now, clearly, I know from that video, I don't know if you saw it, did you see that enormous glass of champagne that was being poured? It's just like a goldfish bowl of champagne. So I'm hoping that that didn't come from somebody who just downed half a pint of champagne, but I don't think so.
I'm probably waking up on the beach just about now.
Just around now. But I think that that really did sort of capture where we're at, and it was nice to see that, having not been around for 2 years. To see the industry bouncing back with such enthusiasm, and we've been writing positive things about the industry in our cupboards. To actually see people in action and to see the industry in action, making it happen, was a real joy. On that, one of the highlights of the day was, and a great example of this is the Sound Media launch for the XR Academy product. Now, I think we covered this as a story a few weeks ago, didn't we?
Yeah, before the show, that they were going to be debuting it at World Telemedia. So we had a sort of sneak insight into it rather than an actual preview.
Yeah, well, we're going to be airing the full presentation that was broadcast live during that party, and we will distribute that very shortly, but certainly within the next week. But for those of you that don't know, XR Academy enables consumers from all age groups to explore a wide range of immersive, high-quality educational content. This is all virtual reality, but the beautiful thing about it is that it's been designed to be compatible with all types of virtual reality headsets. Even consumers that don't own a VR headset are able to engage with all the content effectively. All they need is a smartphone with internet access. Now, I don't know if you remember, but I think back in the summer, Sound Media won an award, didn't they, for putting together a similar type of VR service. And this is taking things to the next level. And it ticks all the boxes, really, because it's high tech, it's high quality service, but it's also tapping, I think, into the sector that you've picked out on numerous occasions, and we poo-pooed you 18 months ago about education. But this really, it's education, but it's edutainment, I think, is in the perfect example of what we mean by that.
No, absolutely. I think what Sam are doing is really interesting, because they're sort of democratizing this kind of high-end content and suddenly making it available across the board. Like you say, you don't even have to have a VR headset to indulge in it or to experience it. And I think the more there's those sort of services out there, the more people will start to buy VR headsets and VR sort of add-ons to their phone, because it just makes the content's just out there. It's not a sort of oddball sort of niche offering anymore. It's a really mainstream thing. They've just brought it to the masses. It's cool, and it's interesting to see how that ties up with, like you say, the telemedia sort of model now is this sort of content engagement, delivery, billing.
Yeah,
and they've got the sort of content side of things really boxed off. And one last point on that, I think this idea that they're now targeting that VR content at education is an excellent idea, because it's great as a thing people pay for that's entertaining, but to actually do something much more worthy with it is really an interesting and nice move. It sort of shows, because all the guys we've met over all the years doing telemedia, they're all really nice people. A lot of them are quite philanthropic, really. They're not just in it for the money. They, of course they are in it for the money, but they do more with it. They're surprisingly sort of, like I say, philanthropic. I think this just carries on that.
Well, for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's no question about that. But I think it's also it's as much as about responding to consumer behavior and what consumers are expecting. I think, for example, the move into mobility, which is something we're going to be talking about over the next couple of years, is another example of a sector that consumers are obviously all over. There are millions of people that drive cars, rent bikes, use trains, and clearly wherever there are lots of people, and you can add some, you can enhance those services through mobile technology, be it an app, or be it billing, or some other service that
those things are really interesting because it brings together sort of the app and the renting of the scooter or whatever it is, with billing, with engagement, with mapping, with content, all the data that comes from that. It's these super app mobility super apps are really interesting.
Just to close off on the XR Academy launch, I just want to highlight the product features, if I may. It's an immersive VR platform, 360-degree documentaries, captivating VR lessons. Here's the bit that you're going to like: engaging quizzes, which adds the entertainment aspect to it, supported in all language, consistently adding to that library, animation for illustrations and engagement purposes, and accessible on mobile and web. So as you say, they've obviously invested a huge amount in this service and made sure that they've got all bases covered, really. So we're going to be putting that presentation out, and I would certainly encourage everyone to have a look at that and really get in touch with Sound Media and find out how you can help them take that product to market, because I'm sure if you've got a customer base or access to media, that's going to be something that will really really perform very well over the next few years, I think. And final point, I would just say that if you go to the World Telemedia website and you go to the spotlight sessions, you can actually click on the "What Are Consumers Buying" session, and you can view that panel session recording, which featured Leon from Sound Media, obviously off the back of that launch, Tony from Reality Gaming, Beatrice from Cookies Digital, and Mohammed from Message Cloud. They're particularly big on the esports, which is again something else we're going to be talking about. So that was a really interesting panel. We're going to go into that in a bit more detail, I think, in a later episode when we've all had a chance to really sort of dissect some of those sessions. And as I say, over the next few months, we'll be serializing those and giving a more of an in-depth analysis of what we view with the salient points as a virtual audience. So we'll talk about that a bit later on. Moving on, Paul, there's another story this week, which I think we're going to just put World Telemedia to bed for the moment. For those of you who are watching reasonably live, this is being recorded just prior to the COP. Is it COP26, isn't it?
The COP26, yes,
COP26.
Environmental Summit. Yes.
There you go. I've actually lost my notes. But ahead of COP26, there's a story came out whilst we were away. 5G could literally help save the world. And this was put together by who was this put together? If I haven't got a clue, Mobile UK.
It was Mobile UK. It was
Tell us what it's about, Paul.
That Mobile UK did. I thought there was obviously, because everyone in the telemedia industry was in Marbella, there wasn't sort of much going on, but this caught my eye because ahead of this environmental summit, the COP26, they've looked at sort of how 5G technology can enable all sorts of things that could lead to sort of less pollution. And interestingly, it's mainly about how to use these sort of super fast broadband networks to sort of connect everything, and it makes sort of journeys of delivery lorries more efficient, and you can do planning better. It's all those sort of things. So it's a kind of application to application sort of messaging, but they do sort of think that it's it has some really sort of tangible savings that can be made. Like sort of, for example, the 5G enabled technology could cut sort of waste in and carbon dioxide emissions in manufacturing by up to about 1%, which is could be as much as 1.7 billion tons of CO2. And this is just by using network technology to run things slightly more efficiently. And these private sort of 5G networks, as they would be, are going to be big business. So to enable this to happen, the network operators need to, or other technology companies need to build out 5G networks for businesses. And this Juniper believes is going to be worth about $12 billion globally. As and for our network operator friends, this is a massive opportunity, because yes, they've spent a lot of money rolling out 5G networks for us, the consumer, to use with our, with our smartphones and all the rest of it. But it takes a long time to recoup the money on that. They could be building 5G networks for industry, earning money doing so, and also saving the world while they do it, which is, I think, laudable, as you'll agree. Another thing that struck me that isn't in this story that I came across today, in fact, is something else I think that's worth that we'll probably look into in more detail. I did touch on it in an editorial I wrote some months ago, but the way we use data and the things we do with our phones is in fact quite environmentally damaging. And there's been a study by the Institution of Engineering and Technology, which estimates that the average UK adult takes around 900 photos with their smartphone a year. For every one they post online, they have 5 that they've taken. And these duplicated and unwanted photos all get stored, often in the cloud on servers. And each person is producing 10.6 kilograms of carbon dioxide a year from their use of just storing unwanted photographs. And they've looked a bit wider, that the sort of data that we use and the stuff that we store, emails, all this kind of thing, each person in the UK produces the equivalent of the carbon dioxide for 112,500 return flights from London to Australia.
Wow.
From people in the UK alone each year.
Wow.
So
that's mind-blowing.
That's a lot. There's 2 things here. One, 5G and networks can do a lot for industry, but at the same time earning network operators and technology companies money to build these networks. But equally, I think, all the stuff we've been talking about, content and services, we need to maybe start to think about what their unseen environmental impact is. So that's some stuff to look at down the line, not taking away from Sam and their fantastic virtual reality stuff. I think, we need these fantastic services, but I think an issue that's going to start to come up with everything across our business is going to be its environmental impact. So one to watch, I think.
Yeah, no, that is really interesting. I mean, going back to the original point that you made about how mobile technology can be deployed into certain sectors to improve their energy efficiency, I certainly think that in the same way as I poo-pooed education 2 years ago, I'm not going to fall for that one again. And I'm going to predict that in the coming year, we're going to be writing an awful lot about where value-added services and or mobile payment technology is going to be deployed. Definitely. For or with a green agenda in mind. And I go back to what I said earlier. I mean, for example, mobility, things like car share, car rental, bike rental, those kinds of mobility or transportation services are going to become ubiquitous in every town. And along with that, there will be probably more of a bias towards some kind of mobile engagement or payment technology. It feels unlikely that those services will be deployed with anything other than that, as a sort of without a mobile first strategy. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that, and therefore I think we will see an awful lot more payment aggregators and merchants from our sector working in mobility in the same way as we're seeing.
Definitely, I think any sort of sector that looks to try and deploy any of these kind of services is going to turn to our guys, because they already understand the network needs, the engagement needs, the billing, if there is a billing element, the content and content delivery, and It's really interesting, and I think, yes, this is why, as you said, World Telemedia, the show is at the forefront where people go to learn what's coming up, because we're all over this kind of thing. So yes, that's something for the year ahead, for 2022. I think we're going to see a lot of this, different sectors, and I think increasingly the sort of environmental agenda also.
Well, and that neatly segues into some news that I've got hot off the press. No one has heard this before. But in fact, Telemedia Publishing, Telemedia Magazine, Telemedia News will be an official media partner for the IoT Social Impact Award, which is an initiative that's been put together by a company called Quitel, in association with Flow Live and the IoT M2M Council. And this is an award initiative which has been put together. In fact, we will attach, I hope, the link to this particular podcast. But again, it is very specifically aimed at recognizing work from the mobile stroke, Internet of Things stroke technology sector, where they are able to make a significant impact, a positive impact on sustainability and being mindful of environmental issues. So we are delighted to be supporting that, and we'll be putting out more information about that in the near future. But that has literally been agreed this very day. So more to come on that. But we're jumping on the green bandwagon. No, totally. we're pulling and pushing the green bandwagon.
Our electrically powered bandwagon.
Well, we're pushing it. We're pushing it
with our own. Absolutely.
So talking of, we mentioned earlier on that one of the big themes about World Telemedia was how can we expand our businesses cross-border, and as I said to you earlier on, I think that it's been it's in the telemedia industry's DNA to look to trade cross-border. It's something which has always been fundamentally part of our industry pretty much since the early 90s, that's for sure. And the next piece of editorial that you picked out was that mobile commerce dominates developed markets, and this particularly talks about the opportunities in Africa. The editorial goes, the mobile commerce boom seen across the pandemic shows no signs of abating, with two separate studies showing that it had a bumpy year in 2021 so far, whilst the app economy goes from strength to strength. This is research from our friends App Annie, of course, the mighty Juniper. And then this also segues nicely into something that we got sent by World Telemedia 21 Gold sponsor Evina and World Telemedia 21 attendee Telecumming, who also put together a really interesting index. So do you want to sort of take it from the top? What was our App Annie's take on Africa, and then how did Juniper fit in?
Yes, well, the things that sort of came out of these two reports, and I sort of put them together, was that App Annie obviously did a lot of research into how UK shoppers use mobile, and found that it's booming. Like mobile commerce has been the sort of real winner out of the pandemic, and the sort of switch to digital. Equally, in Juniper found that sort of mobile payment transactions is exploded across this sort of same period, and a lot of this, according to with their two studies, has been about how that's happened in the sort of developed markets like the UK, Germany, the US, that kind of thing. However, it's starting to become apparent that while there's massive opportunities in these developed markets, it's kind of plateaued. It's got pretty much as big as it's likely to get currently. So really, you need to look at where the other sort of opportunities are, and outside of that, sort of Africa and the Middle East and Latin America offer huge potential to our industry. And like you say, we've always been a sort of cross-border, international sort of industry in the world of telemedia, and it's already been, it's something we've talked about at shows even before the pandemic, about the sort of these African and Middle East markets, but it's now starting to become a really sort of big opportunity for businesses, and particularly with things like companies like Elon Musk's Starlink and another company called Avanti, all starting to roll out sort of 2, 3, and 4G wireless, in the case of Starlink, satellite-based Wi-Fi essentially to some of the remotest parts of the world, you suddenly realize that while there's potential that we've addressed already in, say, Africa, out in the sort of wilds of Africa where there are people but no connectivity, suddenly they're all going to be online too. And this just offers a massive opportunity. I think that at the show that I missed, there was stuff about Latin America, which is particularly interesting. I think maybe we need to save discussing Latin America to another day. But currently, Africa and the Middle East are, they're poised now, ready. They're ready to be tapped into by our companies, and it's already, the other thing, as you say, you mentioned this index that our friends at Avena and Telecoming have put together about the use of direct carrier billing across the whole of Africa, in fact, and they've sort of ranked the countries where it's, well, from sort of good to bad, really, the ones where it's a well-developed ecosystem and it's quite secure, down to the ones where there's problems with fraud, which can be addressed, obviously. And it makes really interesting reading. I mean, it's a very sort of long and involved story with a lot of data and a large infographic that people can read at their leisure. But essentially, sort of Bahrain, Egypt, and Qatar sort of lead this index as being places where carrier billing is really well established. It's really well understood by consumers, and it's run, with a very sort of low amount of fraud in it. At the other end of the scale, just trying to remember who was at the bottom of the list, was Cameroon and Kuwait. Again, they're both massive markets for carrier billing, and it's really popular. It's just they have a bit of trouble with some sort of fraudulent traffic and fraudulent spends and things. But we won't dwell on the bad. We'll focus on the good. But what really comes across on this is sort of, if you look across the whole of Africa, carrier billing is almost now the de facto way that people pay for the stuff certainly the entertainment they consume on their phone and the things they do on their phone. It is carrier billing led. And you think while carrier billing has a role to play here in Europe, it is just one of many payment mechanisms that has certain sort of niches and areas where it's sort of good to use. In Africa, carrier billing is right up there, and I think putting these two things together, this huge opportunity that's sort of arriving from this mass of people who are increasingly going to be online, and the fact that we have this established billing tool suddenly makes it all very sort of workable for the carrier billing industry. So something that really is useful and interesting for our guys to look at.
Yeah, no, you're dead right. I'm glad you picked up on LATAM, and yes, I think probably in the next episode we will highlight the Latin America panel, which was a great success in World Telemedia. But what was also brilliant about that, and what's brilliant about having active partners, local partners based in Latin America, and big players that are now sort of providing people with a gateway into Latin America. They've also,
there's some massive opportunities in Latin America that are, in some ways very similar, but also different. I think I wasn't there. I shall be watching the presentation. It's queued up, ready for me to watch this afternoon on Latin America. But I think rather than comment on it with having not seen it, but yes, that too offers these things. And I think I guess you probably saw firsthand at the show that all these developing markets are rich and ready now for and ripe for our guys to sort of do some great things in.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what was also great about the AWG contribution is that if you go to Telemedia 8.1, you go under country updates, you'll find individual country updates on pretty much all the major Latin American countries, markets. So it's interesting that we talk about LATAM and Africa, but of course, they are continents, and there are millions. There are lots of different markets within those continents with very specific and identifiable characteristics that you need to be aware of in order to be successful. And as I say, AWG have been incredibly generous in providing our sector with a really very good breakdown of the individual characteristics of the markets that certainly should be in your travel plans, your commercial travel plans for next year. We're just about out of time. I wanted to just say on that as well, remember that on the Telemedia 8.1 platform, we do have a separate country update session, mainly contributed by now AWG and Pello, but there are some other contributions as well. And on that, and if you are interested, if you are interested in doing some research on opportunities in the African markets, there were a couple of sessions from World Telemedia, and there are, as I say, pre-recorded sessions. But they're all online at 8.1, and they feature the Cameroon, Senegal, Guinea, Burkina Faso, which is a favorite pointless answer, I think, Egypt, Ivory Coast, Botswana, and Ghana. So if that doesn't give you some inspiration for your holiday in 2022, Paul, I don't know what does.
Well, my world tour culminating, I'm hoping, in Marbella, I assume in October 2022.
Yeah. Now, there's also going to be some other smaller events that we're looking to announce over the next couple of weeks. So keep an eye out for that. I think we're going to see each other again in 2 weeks' time for our next Studio 8.1 session. Until next time, I will look forward to seeing you on Twitter and LinkedIn, and look forward to reading all your fantastic in-depth analysis from the world of telemedia. So until next time, everyone, thank you very much for listening in. Please share, like, and go and look at all the links that we've referenced.
Clearly, I'm off
in
to
the
go.
space below.
Go and relive the show.
So you be well and stay away from COVID, mate.
I'll do my best. You too, mate. Take care.
Take it easy.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.